She was barefoot, hungry, covered in dust, a street girl with nothing but shame in her eyes and hunger in her belly. He was an arrogant billionaire prince, stepping out of a gold-plated Lamborghini with a diamond watch worth more than her entire country. They locked eyes for 1 second. He smirked, then said the most ridiculous thing she'd ever heard. "I'll give you $30 million, if you marry me. Right now." And just like that, her life turned into the kind of nightmare fairy tales never warned her about. Her name was Amani, 19 years old, homeless, orphaned. She lived on the unforgiving streets of Lagos, doing odd jobs and digging through trash just to eat. The only thing she owned was a torn plastic bag that held her mother's scarf and an old journal filled with poetry no one would ever read. Every day, she saw rich people pass. Big men in bulletproof SUVs. Women dripping in gold, but she had never seen him. That day, the city was on fire with rumors. The prince from Dubai is in town. The billionaire's son who owns half the Gulf is here. They say he's looking for a wife, someone obedient, someone quiet. Amani didn't care. She was too busy scraping the side of a restaurant bin, looking for a piece of chicken no one had touched. Then, tires screeched, crowds scattered, and that's when she saw him. He was everything she hated: arrogant, handsome, smelling of money and danger. Sheikh Zayed Al Rashid, the 31-year-old billionaire heir to the Al Rashid dynasty, oil tycoons, real estate kings, untouchable royalty. His white caftan shimmered in the sun. His sunglasses cost more than a house. But what shocked Amani wasn't the car, or the cameras, or the guards. It was the fact that he saw her. And smirked. He walked straight up to her, ignoring the crowd, and said with a voice smooth as silk and cold as ice, "What's your name, trash girl?" She looked up, clutching her plastic bag. "Amani." He nodded. "Pretty name. I like how dirty you are. Untouched by the fake plastic world." Raw. She narrowed her eyes. "What do you want?" He pulled a black metal briefcase from his car and opened it, revealing stacks of $100 bills. Neatly wrapped, crisp, real. Then he said it, slowly, like a challenge. "Marry me. 1 year. No love, no questions, no touch unless I say so. $30 million. Cash. When the year is over, you disappear." The street went silent. Amani blinked. What kind of joke is this? But he wasn't joking. And when she didn't answer, he leaned in closer. "You're sleeping next to rats and begging for bones. This is your only shot to escape. Say no, and you'll regret it forever." She should have run, screamed, thrown the money in his face. Instead, she asked one question. "Can I keep my mother's scarf?" He paused, smiled faintly. "Of course, but nothing else from your old life." And in that moment, Amani said yes. What she didn't know, she had just agreed to marry a man with a dark secret. A man who wasn't just arrogant, but hiding a deadly past. And by the time she found out, it would be too late to run. Amani thought she was marrying a billionaire. She didn't realize she was stepping into a cage made of gold and secrets. Because Sheikh Zayed Al Rashid didn't just want a wife. He wanted ownership. And now that she'd signed the deal, she wasn't just poor anymore. She was property. The contract was 47 pages long, written in legal Arabic and English she barely understood. She was handed a pen and told to sign. No public interviews. No leaving the house without permission. No touching the sheikh unless invited. No eye contact during meals. No family visits. No phones. Each clause was worse than the last. But the lawyer, a stone-faced man in a gray suit, simply said, "You'll be richer than any woman in your bloodline. Just follow the rules." Amani signed, and just like that, her new life began. They flew to Dubai on a private jet with velvet seats and golden handles. She had her first hot shower in 5 years. A stylist trimmed her hair, bleached her teeth, and dressed her in silks. Her old life, the streets, the hunger, the shame, was washed away in 48 hours. But inside, Amani felt like a prisoner in a palace. Zayed didn't speak to her, didn't touch her, didn't even look at her unless he was issuing orders. He had 2 phones, 5 assistants, and one obsession: control. Their wedding was staged. No guests, no vows, just a photo op for the press and a line in the business papers. Arab billionaire marries mystery woman in private ceremony. Rumors swirled. Who is she? Did she save his life? Is she his secret mistress from the slums? But Zayed refused to explain. And Amani was told to stay silent. In her new home, a palace overlooking the Arabian Gulf, she wasn't allowed to leave her private wing. Security guards followed her. Cameras blinked from every corner. Her food was chosen for her. Her wardrobe, curated by a modesty consultant. She hadn't married a man. She'd married a brand, but one night, she broke a rule. She wandered down the wrong hallway and found room 17. It was locked, but a draft seeped through the edges. Inside, she heard something. A piano playing, a voice humming, a child crying. Her heart froze. A child? She stepped back, and a voice sliced through the dark behind her. I told you to stay in your wing. It was Zayed, standing in the shadows, watching, unblinking. Was that a child? She asked, trembling. He said nothing, just stepped closer and whispered, you have one job, Amani. Be quiet, be beautiful, be gone in 12 months. Then he walked away, leaving the door wide open behind him. She looked once more, but the room was empty. No piano. The deal was clear. $30 million for 1 year as his wife, no questions asked. But when Amani heard the sound of a crying child behind a locked door in a palace where no children were supposed to exist, she realized something. This wasn't a marriage, it was a trap, and if she didn't uncover the truth behind room 17, she wouldn't live to see the payout. The next morning, the entire hallway was sealed. Room 17, the room she heard weeping from, was now hidden behind a golden screen and 2 armed guards. As if it had never existed. Amani wasn't stupid. She knew something dark lived behind those walls. And the deeper she sank into the palace life, the more strange things she began to notice. Zayed left at odd hours. Sometimes, he'd return drenched in sweat, looking like he'd seen ghosts. He barely slept, he never smiled, and though he was rich beyond belief, there was sadness behind his power. And rage. She saw him lash out once, smashing his phone after a call with someone named Yusuf. You swore to keep her out of this. She doesn't know. She can't know. The moment he saw her watching, he froze. Then, he did something he never had before. He touched her hand. Don't go near room 17 again, he whispered. For your own safety. But Amani wasn't afraid of him anymore. She was afraid of what he was protecting. A few days later, during a palace charity gala, she slipped away from the ballroom in a borrowed uniform. Dressed as one of the servers, she crept back down to the forbidden hall. The guards were gone. Room 17 was slightly open. She pushed it slowly, heart racing, fingers trembling. Inside was a nursery, dusty, abandoned, a cradle, a rocking chair, old toys, a baby monitor blinking red, everything frozen in time. On the wall was a painting. A woman, African, beautiful. She looked exactly like Amani. Suddenly, a hand clamped down on her shoulder. She screamed. It was Zayed, but he wasn't angry. He looked broken. Her name was Zara. He walked into the room, slowly, like it hurt to breathe. She was my wife, my first one. She died 2 years ago, in this room. Amani's heart dropped. What happened? He sat on the dusty rocking chair, closed his eyes. We met the same way I met you. On the street. I paid her to marry me. I needed an image. She needed an escape. But unlike you, she didn't play by the rules. He opened his eyes, haunted. She fell in love with me. And I ruined everything. She got pregnant. Someone didn't like that. There was an accident. Or maybe it wasn't. To this day, I don't know who to trust. Amani backed away, stunned. Why me then? Why choose me the same way? Zayed stood, stepped closer. Because you remind me of her. And maybe, I wanted to see if this time, I could do it right. If I could protect the woman I bought, before I destroyed her too. She slapped him, hard, tears in her eyes. You didn't buy me. You rented a soul, a life, a heartbeat, and now you're trying to relive a fantasy, on my back. She stormed out, but what she didn't know was that someone else was listening in the hallway. A man in shadows, and he was the one who killed Zara. Zayed wasn't just arrogant, he was haunted, by the ghost of his first wife, and the secret he buried with her. But now, Amani wasn't just playing a role. She was caught in a dangerous game with people willing to kill to keep the past buried. And someone in the palace wanted history to repeat itself. The slap echoed in Zayed's ears long after Amani stormed out. He didn't chase her. Maybe he was used to women walking away from him. Or maybe, he knew this time, it wouldn't be that easy. Because someone else had heard everything in room 17. Someone Zayed hadn't seen in months. Yusuf, his cousin, his childhood best friend, and the one man Zara never trusted. Yusuf had returned to the palace under the guise of business. But he had other plans. Because 2 years ago, he was the one who'd warned Zayed not to marry a poor African girl. He was the one who'd whispered in the king's ear that Zara's pregnancy would ruin the family's reputation. He was the one who arranged the accident. And now, seeing Amani in the palace, wearing the same skin, the same innocence, the same defiance, made his blood boil. He's making the same mistake again, Yusuf muttered, sipping whiskey alone in the study. And this time, I'll clean it up permanently. Meanwhile, Amani was packing. Enough was enough. She didn't care about the money. She didn't care about the fame. She didn't even care about the pain in Zayed's eyes anymore. She just wanted her life back. But as she folded her clothes into a suitcase, a tiny black flash drive fell out of the lining. She froze. Where did this come from? It was labeled, Zara, the 3rd of December 21. Amani rushed to her private tablet, plugged it in, the screen flickered, and then, Zara appeared, in a dimly lit room, her eyes puffy from crying, her voice trembling. If you're watching this, I didn't die by accident. They lied to Zayed. I overheard Yusuf threatening my doctor. He said if this baby is born, the Al-Rashid name will be tainted forever. I don't think I'll make it, but I hope someone, anyone, finds this. The video cut off. Amani dropped the tablet, hands shaking, heart in her throat. Zayed didn't know. Yusuf murdered her. And now, Amani was next. That night, she went to Zayed's chambers. Burst through the doors. You need to see this. She played the video. He didn't blink, didn't speak, just sat in silence, watching the woman he failed speak from beyond the grave. Then he stood, and for the first time, Zayed cried. I trusted him, my own blood. Amani whispered, he's still here. And he knows. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed from downstairs. Gunshot, screams, security radios lit up. Yusuf was no longer hiding. And now? He wasn't just targeting Amani. He was coming for Zayed. The contract said 1 year of silence. No questions, no love, no lies. But Amani asked one question, and now they were both targets. The same man who killed Zayed's first wife was coming for his second. And this time, $30 million wouldn't buy protection. It would buy a coffin. Chaos erupted through the palace. Guards scrambled, alarms blared, doors slammed shut. Zayed grabbed Amani's wrist and pulled her behind a hidden bookshelf passage, a royal escape route built during his grandfather's reign. He's not just trying to kill us, Zayed muttered. He wants to take everything. The empire, the inheritance, the bloodline. Amani clutched the flash drive. Then we expose him. To who? Zayed snapped. Everyone in this palace is paid by him or afraid of him. If we don't get out, you'll die like Zara. She blinked. You loved her, didn't you? Zayed stopped. I never admitted it, not even to her. I was too busy being powerful. Too busy pretending love was weakness. His voice cracked. But you made me feel again. You made me human. And that's exactly why Yusuf wants you dead. Downstairs, Yusuf moved like a man with nothing left to lose. He disabled the cameras, cut off external comms. He wore a black suit and carried a silenced pistol, the same one used to stage Zara's accident. He barked orders at guards. Bring me Amani, alive. And if Zayed resists, shoot him. The family will thank me later. Zayed and Amani made it to the stables behind the palace. He handed her a small phone. This line is untraceable. Call the number labeled Falcon. It's the one person I trust. Before she could, footsteps approached. Too fast, too many. Zayed stepped in front of her. If I don't make it, take the flash drive to the media. Burn this family down. Zayed, she started, tears in her eyes. But he kissed her forehead. I never said it before. But I love you, Amani. And not because you remind me of Zara. I love you. The fire, the mouth, the truth. Suddenly, gunfire cracked. They dove for cover. Yusuf appeared through the smoke, gun raised. Sheikh Zayed al-Rashid, step aside. This girl dies, and your father rewrites history. Zayed raised his hands. You killed my wife, and now you want to erase her memory? Yusuf sneered. She was nothing, just like this one. Then shoot me, Zayed growled. Because I'd rather die beside her than live in your empire. A long pause. Then, bang, Zayed fell. Amani screamed. Yusuf turned the gun toward her. But before he could fire, boom, a sniper's shot tore through the air. Yusuf dropped instantly. Behind him stood a black-clad man with a scoped rifle and earpiece. Falcon, the stranger nodded. You're late, Amani sobbed, kneeling beside Zayed's body. But Falcon smiled faintly. Your husband's tougher than you think. Zayed groaned. He was alive, bleeding, but breathing. By sunrise, Yusuf's crimes were all over the international news. The flash drive was leaked. Zara's truth exposed. And the Al-Rashid Empire? Thrown into chaos. But as Zayed lay in a private hospital suite, holding Amani's hand. He said one final thing. This time, I don't want a contract. I want a real marriage. If you'll still have me. She signed a contract to survive. Now, she was standing in front of the world, not as a paid wife, not as a secret, but as the woman who brought an empire to its knees. The street girl everyone spat on was now married to the most powerful man in the Middle East. And just when she thought the nightmare was over, the biggest twist of all came wrapped in tiny baby clothes. It had been 7 weeks since Yusuf's execution-style takedown and Zayed's near-death escape. The media branded Amani, the billionaire's bulletproof bride. News anchors, royal analysts, and gossip blogs couldn't get enough of the story. African street girl exposes royal murder plot. Marries Arab CEO weeks later. Zayed al-Rashid steps down from throne to protect his maid-turned-wife. She was paid $30 million to marry him, but what he gave up is worth billions. But the money? It meant nothing to Amani now. Because for the first time in her life, she had peace. Zayed recovered quietly, with Falcon's security team watching day and night. The al-Rashid board was dismantled. Zara's name was cleared, and Amani? She was pregnant. It started as a faint sickness. Then the test came back positive. She walked into Zayed's study one morning with the test in her hand. He looked up from a folder filled with old business documents. Good news or bad? He asked. She tossed it on his desk. You got me pregnant, billionaire. Zayed stared at the test stick. His mouth opened, closed. Then he stood slowly, walked to her, dropped to his knees, and kissed her belly. No contracts, no rules, just love, he whispered. They married again, this time, for real. No PR, no photographers, just a barefoot ceremony under the Ghanaian moonlight. Zayed wore a white linen shirt. Amani wore her late mother's scarf tied around her growing belly. Falcon stood as best man, and in a quiet vow no one heard but her, Zayed said, I bought a bride, but I found a warrior. You saved me. 2 years later. Location: Accra, Ghana. The little boy running through the villa gardens was named Zarin, a blend of Zayed and Amani. Bright eyes, brown skin, a laugh that echoed like joy in motion. Amani was now an author. Her memoir, From Dust to Diamonds, was a global bestseller. And Zayed? He never returned to the empire. Instead, he opened schools for girls in poor villages and funded shelters for women like Amani once was, broken, forgotten, but not hopeless. They didn't need palaces anymore. They had each other, and a love that money never could have bought.